case number. We are hearing case number MI 2022-001-749 for 222 Brown Street in the city of Philadelphia. Andrea, can you and your colleague state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Andrea Ambrush, and I'm the owner of the GMB Construction.
And my name is Nikolai Grigoras. I used to be the vice president of the church at that time.
Okay, thank you. So if we can, I'd like to explain a little bit of how we're going to proceed today. My name is Walt Kresanowski. I'm the chairman of the Plumbing Advisory Board. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask you, we're going to give you ample time to explain to us the nature of your appeal, what has gone on. After you have had ample time to explain to us, one at a time, the board members will potentially have some questions for you. At the end of that questioning, we'll allow you to add any comments that you would like to put in. And at that time, we will go into the deliberation room. We'll put you back in the waiting room. We'll deliberate a little bit, and then we'll come out. We're not going to vote today on your case. There seems to be a procedural snafu with the actual case. You need to have, and I'll let our solicitor explain this in more in detail, but you need to actually apply for a plumbing permit. You will get a refusal, and based on that refusal, you will then come back to this board for a actual voting hearing. But what we would like to do with you folks today, if at all possible, because we have explored this quite in depth, we would like to hear your testimony. We would like to possibly offer you some suggestions of solutions, the potential problems. Would you be okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So,
Mr. Chair, this is Hillary. I just wanted to check for the court reporter. Does he need either of the individuals to spell their names for the record?
This is the court reporter. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll start. My name is Andrea, first name Andreea, and last name Ambrush, AM, B as in boy, R as in river, US.
And my name is Nikolai, Nicolae. Last name Grigoras, as a Grigoras.
Mr. Reporter, are you good with that?
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea, can you and your colleague please raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you provide today will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Board members. Prior to today, has any board member discussed any information in whole or in part with the appellate or anyone directly or indirectly connected with this case? Mike Bellata?
No.
Dave Hoffmeister? Did we lose Mr. Hoffmeister?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can now.
Yeah, no.
Thank you. Mike Ingram?
No.
Brian Gilbert?
I have not.
Sarah Poindexter?
No.
Patrick McDonald?
No.
And the chair has not had any communication outside of staff. Andrea, now that we've dispensed with all this, please explain to us, we have your appeal, and we have your photographs, and we have your letter, which thank you for all that. If you could just explain to us a little bit briefly of what transpired and how we got to where we're at.
Okay. So I'm a member of the church. The church is located into a historical preserved building. I know that the church has raised funds for 5 years to do the sidewalk replacement, and me having the opportunity, I agreed to do this project for them at time and material. So we had no profit from this project. During the sidewalk replacement, brick replacement project, my team discovered these 3 downsprouts, which are like, based on my understanding, they're located at 10 inches under the sidewalk. So they were old. Maybe I'm gonna let you do this part. So I'm gonna let him do the technical part. So my team discovered those downsprouts. They replaced them at no cost. They left them exactly in the location, and then they pursued with the project. And this is my involvement in it as being the contractor. Tina, which now I realize that I should have brought her onto this meeting. She was the architect, but her time, let's say she's being paid for any time that she's putting into this project. I took on this appeal because I'm doing it at no cost for the church. And maybe Nick, you want to say a little bit more about the downsprouts?
Yes, during the process of installing the pavement, the brick pavement, we found out the 3 4-inch PVC pipes, which they are old and broke. And we did replace it in the same place with the new 8-inch PVC pipes. Those pipes are collecting the water from the roof of the church. Those was existing, as much as we know, for a long period of time.
Okay.
Okay, I was asked yesterday about some information from the historical preservation about digging underneath. I do not have that information right now. This is what I was told as being the contractor. That's all that information applying for this permit, dealing with the historical society. It was the architect that dealt with that. So I reached out to her. Hopefully I can get all that information by the end of today.
Well, I will say this, that once we get done our discussion today, again, because we're not actually voting today,
Okay,
that would be something that will be beneficial for you to provide before the actual next hearing.
okay.
So the board will want to see written verification of that from the historical commission. That would be very helpful for us.
So I just want to add that at the time, at this project, we discussed with the inspector about what needs to be done, what should have been done the right way. We had a few quotes on how to do that, and we had 2 big problems. One was actually digging underneath, and the other one was funds. This is a church. As I said, it took them 5 years to get money to do this project. I don't know if there's any way they can get any other funds. Nick, do you want to?
Question on that. Do you have a written quote from a plumber to tie in? Do you have that in writing?
We don't have it because based on the historical society, we are not allowed to dig more than 12-inch at any time at that property without some involvement from the historical society, for a reason of being a building which is 200 years old, and we did not approve to dig more than 12-inch. So therefore, to do it the right way, we're talking about a lot of digging deeper than that.
So the number that I got, I thought it's around 30,000-40,000 at that time, because digging is something that my team could have done. Again, just time and material. But yeah, we didn't get like a formal quote. Only when they told us what needs to be done, I said how much it's gonna be on my end as the excavation company, not the plumbing.
And that's fine. So something in the future that would also be beneficial to have in writing. So what we need is we need to be able to provide something to put in the file. We need written documentation. So in the future, as we progress with this, that might be something beneficial for you to have also would be a written quote, either from your company or the plumbing company or a combination of both. This way we can have that to evaluate as well.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else to add? Okay. So what we're going to do now then, we're going to I think we'll look at some photographs first, and then we'll go ahead and ask you some questions. And the way we're going to ask the questions is I'll start asking the questions, and then I'll call on each board member who will in turn ask you any questions that they may have. But what I think would be beneficial for our discussion right now is I'm going to ask David Hoffmeister we did take some additional photographs of the site and the site conditions. So I think one at a time, I would ask Dave Hoffmeister to bring them up. And Andrew, you don't have these yet, but we will provide you with these photographs if you would like them prior to the actual voting hearing. So this is a photograph. I'll explain all the photographs first, then we can have further discussion. This photograph is marked PAB1, simply shows that there is sewer available on North American Street. That's really all this shows. And that's just for for the sake of discussion. Photograph marked PAB2 shows a similar condition, that sewer is available on North Bodine Street on the other end of the church. PAB3 shows a downspout that you did not work on, Andrea,
Yep.
but was existing. And what this photograph shows, that the downspout simply spills to a concreted area on the Bodine side of the church. Moving on to PAB4, this shows the one downspout on Bodine Street, closest to the corner of Brown, and it shows the PVC downspout and the weep hole coming through the curbing. PAB5 shows a similar condition on North American Street. PAB6 shows the downspout another downspout on American Street. PAB7 shows the downspout on the second downspout on American Street. And finally, PAB7 shows that same downspout, but it also shows a fresh air inlet for a sanitary connection. Now, both downspouts on North American Street side have a similar fresh air inlet. So that fresh air inlet is in line with the downspouts. That tells the board that potentially at some point in time, these downspouts could have been connected to the drainage system. Furthermore, the weep holes, all these weep holes, they actually go around the entire property. They are specifically not to drain the downspouts, but they are in our opinion, they're designed to drain the planter beds, not the downspouts. I can see that you utilize that in an effort to try and rectify the situation. Now, both downspouts on the North American Street side, David, if you can stay on PAB8. Wonderful. And we will go to that one in a moment. Both of the downspouts on North American Street have this fresh air inlet that coincides with the downspout locations. So it might be coincidental that this may be an area where two sanitary lines exit the building. We don't know that. One suggestion that we may make to you is the church may want to hire out a company to actually camera these lines and see if they do in fact travel in toward the building. So, there's companies out there, they can put a camera in there, they can look up that line, see the condition of the line, see actually where it goes, and they can actually plot that line and spray on the ground the location of that line for you. Because again, in the future, it may be that the church is able to connect these to the drainage system with minimal disruption. So that's something that the church and you folks may want to think about, actually putting a camera up these lines and see the feasibility of connecting the downspouts to these lines. So that, and I will ask staff to send you these photographs immediately after our discussion here. So
Yeah.
you have them for your own review. But we would urge you to consider doing that, consider consulting maybe with a plumber that you've worked with in the past, to scope them lines. That might be very beneficial for you to do.
Okay.
We'll also notice in a lot of these photographs, because it's a brick sidewalk, that, with the water coming down on there, it certainly looks like it potentially degrading the sidewalks. So, this is one of the primary reasons, under the code that, that downspouts have to be actually tied into a drainage system. David, if we can pull up, I am going to start my questions right there. If you could stay right there. So Andrea, this is a photograph that you sent.
Yes,
And I'm sorry, what was your colleague's name again?
Nick.
Nick,
Nick. So Nick, I would like to ask you, you mentioned twice when talking to us so far that Andrea's people hit the PVC lines going over. So were them lines that were hit and broken, were they actually PVC in material?
that's correct. And just another remark to say that not necessarily that we hit it, we find it broke it because they're old pipes, same location as you see the new one. And
So this
they
is
disintegrate on over time, I assume.
okay, this is extremely important. So I want to clarify. So the lines that were uncovered were already PVC lines?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So they were existing. Let me make a note. PVC. And this is an important factor, and you'll discover why as we move on. The question that I would potentially have is the rate of fall from the building out to the actual curbing. And Andrea, you might be better suited to answer this. When your folks put them in, is there actually pitch going from the building out to that weep hole in the curbing?
I can answer that one. It is 1%.
Okay, very good. So they were PVC when you encountered them, and they were 4-inch, and you put 4-inch back.
Correct.
And just to establish it, the existing lines went from the church wall to the curbing and not to any sanitary system.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
From the building to the curb going out the sidewalk. That's correct.
Okay. Well, that concludes my questions for now. And that was a very nice job too. I mean, the photographs you sent, I mean, it would certainly be, sad to have to disturb that, if that's the case. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go around the board members, and the board members will have an opportunity to ask any questions if they have any. Mike Bellotta,
No questions.
Mike Ingram,
No questions.
Patrick McDonald,
I have no questions.
Sarah Poindexter,
No questions.
Michelle Brisbane, I think that is no questions. Shane, do you have any, Shane McNulty, do you have any questions?
Questions?
Bill Dobbins,
No questions.
Brian Gilbert.
I'm gonna have a few questions, Walt. I'm sorry, I did miss your names. I'm having a problem with my computer audio. I'm not really hearing that well. So
Me,
the did the work. You're a general contractor, I'm assuming.
yes.
You have, I'm not going to ask you for names of plumbers, but do you have a plumber that you use when
Yeah,
you,
so I'm not necessarily a general contractor. I'm doing concrete excavation and paving.
contract excavation and, I'm sorry, what?
Paving.
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 Okay, when you're doing excavation work, you're
Yeah.
bound to come across piping. As much as we may call one call, may have great operators, you're putting a shovel on the ground, you're eventually going to hit a pipe. Do you or do you not have a plumbing contractor that you use or sub out? Ever?
I don't, so as I said, I'm not doing plumbing related stuff.
Okay, so you say you dug, yeah, you hit the plastic, it happens. How did you make the repair? How was the repair made?
The old pipe was replaced with a new pipe. Those,
What joint did you make when you connected new pipe to the old pipe?
I cannot answer that one specifically. I was not there at that time.
You were not there, so we do not know if you used a PVC coupling and a solvent weld joint. You could have used
I know that.
no hub coupling. You have no idea, so we do not know what type of joint was used to repair this underground.
I know because we buy the material as a church and we were suggested by Schedule 40. If that's help.
So,
Yeah, Schedule 40 is the type of piping, but I'm just wondering the joint you made to make the connection
yep,
from, what's that?
I didn't do the work myself, and Nick also is a project manager. He didn't do the work himself. But I have a folder with all the receipts, everything. I can ask the actual foreman who did the work in the job.
Yeah, I'd like to know how the connections from existing to the new piping were made.
But again, we didn't do it ourselves.
Okay,
And I'll take a look at the receipts to see what actually was bought for the project.
And you mean the connection between the metal downspout to the PVC?
no, not from the downspout, from underground. What type of piping joints did you make underground to make the repair?
Correct. I know it's a 90 degrees and just a straight pipe going out from the 90 degrees.
Okay, so, did you replace it in whole from the downspout all the way through the wall? Did you connect onto existing piping? Did you?
There is no, there is a new pipe coming
Connecting
from
to-
the downspout 90 degrees down and one piece going from the 90 degrees down to the sidewalk.
To the sidewalk, so you did not connect to any existing piping?
Correct.
So you ripped out PVC piping that was underground
That's correct.
and you replaced PVC piping underground.
Yes.
And I'm looking at these holes. To me, they show a severe reduction in the rate of flow in all of them except for one. I'm guessing this is PAB 6 seems to show a 4-inch hole. PAB 5 looks to me like a 2 or 2.5-inch hole, almost like it would be a drain for static water pressure in that garden bed. I'm assuming you just butted your pipe up to that existing curb.
Yes, to the beginning of the, let's say.
And so you have a 4-inch pipe butting up to a concrete,
Correct.
and that to me looks about a maximum 2.5-inch pipe. So you're going to definitely have some reduction in flow and some water build up behind there. And that PAB4 seems to be the same space. Those couple of things concern me. What was there a reason for not calling a plumbing contractor? Was it just a monetary issue? Was it, we got to get this done today? Did you consider consulting a plumbing contractor when you hit the piping?
Well, we can say both.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Both situation, one that, the church did not have the fund and the plumbing contractor, it will take some time and that will stop us working and finish our project.
Okay. I have one final question here. If you look at some of the pictures of this property on Google Maps, it appears to show a school. Is a school run out of this church?
Yes, and I can point it what it is. The whole building, it's a church and then there's a social part of the church which we rented to a school called Quadrat, I believe.
So it's a non-denominational, not part of your church school that it is renting part of your building.
That's good.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Before I get to David Hoffmeister, Andrea, Mr. Gilbert brings up an interesting question that I hadn't thought of. Did you take a one call out on this property before you started to dig? Did you do a one call and do you have a serial number for that?
I do not remember right this second, but we do PA1 calls for everything. So if I did, I should have an email. So again, I don't remember at this point. But
For the future, when you come back to see us, if you can explore that for us too, see if you have the PA1 call serial number on that. That would be helpful. David, I'm sorry, I went ahead of you there. Dave Hoffmeister?
Thank you, Walt. Andre and Nick, a few questions here. The first being you had previously mentioned that you were not present during the installation. Did either of you see the condition of the crushed piping or the broken piping?
I personally see it. I don't know if I'm.
I didn't.
So neither of you have.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
And what color was the pipe that
White.
was buried?
White.
Okay.
You mentioned that the inspector has pictures of that?
Yes, the inspector in the field also has picture of that.
Of it before it was replaced.
Correct.
And next time we meet, could you please provide those pictures as well? You mentioned that with Brian Gilbert's questioning that it was not installed by a plumbing contractor. Is that the case?
Like the replacement that we
No.
talked about?
The new piping was not installed by a licensed plumbing contractor.
No.
And Nick, during Walt's discussion, you had mentioned 4-inch PVC existing, but you also mentioned some 8-inch PVC. Was there any 8-inch PVC installed?
No.
On the multiple locations where these exit away from the building, I believe Brian mentioned this, but I just want to confirm it. Were there any other connections to these laterals?
No.
And did these laterals connect to any existing piping underground?
Under the meaning from the building to the street, all three of them was the same, connected from the downspout going out of the ground to the curb.
Okay. Do you know if there were any traps at the base of these downspouts?
No traps.
Okay. And as Walt stated, if you did have your call before you dig report, please include that in next
Okay.
round. And Walt, that concludes my questions.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh. Okay, I'll find out.
Andrea, and Nick. So we're going to go and talk a little bit and then come back and talk to you again. Do you have anything else that you feel is important to add before we talk amongst ourselves a little bit?
Well, me as a member, as this community, we have around 80 to 100 members a year. Our financial situation is very, very, very poor. We have to consider that one because it takes years and years and years to maybe save $20,000-$30,000. It's just the reality.
And this board is mindful of the hardships. There's some other, there's as this progresses forward, there's some other concerns, not only the code concerns, but there's concerns with the water going out onto the sidewalk and freezing and potentially, causing harm to the people walking by. I mean, this is a complicated issue. It may seem simple to you and to Andrea, but when this board, as a technical board, we look at all the components, we have a lot of different things to weigh that would potentially factor into a decision that may be made in the future. But we're going to ask you to go in. We're going to have Phil put you in the room for just a few minutes, and we're going to come back and talk to you before we conclude our discussion. Okay?
We understand. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil, if you'd be kind enough to put Nick and Andrea in a waiting room and let me know when that's done.
They're in the waiting room now, sir.
Mr. Kelly, we are now off record, please.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. So Andrea, we had obviously quite a bit of discussion over this, and we are taking all of your statements into consideration for future hearing. We would ask you the things that we've pointed out to you to try and locate them lines. And Phil, please send them photographs, PAB 1 through 8, to the appellate when we're concluded our meetings today. We would ask you to consider doing that, scoping them lines to see if there is a more economical solution to this problem. And we appreciate you coming in, talking to us. We hope that we've provided you some insights before we actually come back to the voting thing. We hope we provided you some insights, and now we're going to have our attorney explain to you what you need to do procedurally from this point forward. Hillary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. My name is Hillary Emerson, and I'm counsel for.
Can I interrupt for a second? So
Yes.
I need you to clarify, who are you addressing? So I represent GMB Construction. We did this project, and I started I started this appeal because I thought it's gonna help the church and resolve faster. It's been 2 years since then. GMB Construction has it's not involved with the church. It's like our project, it's done. There's no involvement of my company. I am still a member of the church, so I'm doing this, for the church. So I just want to make sure that you clarify, who are you addressing? Because as I said, my company at this point has nothing to do with this. Nick here has been a vice president of the church at that point. At this point, he's also not involved with the church.
Well, because and I'll let our solicitor expand on this, but because you are the appellate, it would be it would be up to you to convey this to the church.
Okay.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, so just to, and sorry, I don't have it pulled up at the moment, but I believe the violation notice was issued to your company. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so and you are the one who appealed it.
Yeah.
It was based on a project that you were doing
Yes.
at the church.
Yep.
So yes, you would need you know, this is information you should convey, to the church. And perhaps at the next hearing we should have a representative, who can speak on behalf of the church
Okay.
present at the hearing. So this was filed, I assume, so just correct me if I'm wrong. When you filed the notice of, when you appealed the violation, you were not contesting whether you needed a permit, but you were contesting whether you needed to do the additional work that the inspector said you needed to do. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what you need to do procedurally from here, because the board can't grant any sort of relief based on the violation. All that they can do with the violation is say whether the city was correct or not in issuing the violation. But that's not really going to help your situation.
Yes.
So what you need to do, and it doesn't, I should say what the church needs to do, because I understand this may be beyond, the scope of work that, your company does, but although bearing in mind the violation was issued to you as a result of your project. There needs to be a permit applied for, a plumbing permit applied for the work that was done, and it will be denied. But when it is denied, you should ask for what's called a refusal, and the refusal will go over the reasons why the work is not up to code. At that point, you can appeal that refusal back to the Plumbing Advisory Board, and then they can actually consider whether they can grant the relief. Like I said, they can't grant it based off of a violation, because there's no permit application. There's no, plans that have been, reviewed to determine how it deviates from the code. So that review has to take place, and then the board can consider relief. But the board did want to, as they said, did still want to meet with you today instead of just kind of telling you to go and do this right away, so they could understand the situation more and perhaps offer some suggestions prior to you filing that application, so maybe you could minimize or eliminate some needs for variances based on, further review.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It's a good start.
Okay. Yeah, and you can reach out to, like, I mean, the underlying message is a permit needs to be applied for. And I know L&I do that through the Eclipse system. And L&I does provide assistance if you need help figuring out how to do that application, what documents you need, and that sort of thing. Shane, I don't know if you have anything to add on that point. I don't know too much about the plumbing permits process.
So the permit, who needs to apply? Me or the church?
So it can be, and Shane, correct me if I'm wrong, it can be the church, or as the property owner, or the entity performing the work.
Right, so just to confirm, essentially the way this process works, you can apply, whoever, the attorney, owner, contractor, or
Okay.
plumber can apply for the application. Once that application is in, the refusal can be generated, you can come to the board, all right? Theoretically, the plumber doesn't have to be named until the permit's getting ready to be issued. This permit won't be issued without a licensed plumber being named.
So I can.
You can start the process before you release the project to a plumber.
Okay.
Thank you, Shane.
So I'm sorry, I'm just gonna ask, so what's gonna happen if we don't follow up with this and just drop it at this point? I'm just gonna ask, because as I said, what are the repercussions?
Because the violation was issued against you, you could potentially be open to a fine, a daily fine. because the violation was issued against your company.
Mhm. Yes, I believe that at some point, because you did file an appeal, the
Mhm.
board would have to make a decision. Or it might go back to Blur Wald. We'd have to kind of figure that out. But because it was appealed, there would be a decision on whether or not the city was correct in issuing the violation. And if they were, it was determined the city was correct in issuing the violation, then at that point you could be subject to fines.
Okay. Okay.
Andrea, Nick,
Yes, sir.
just understand, as Hillary just said, we tried to guide you
Mhm.
and steer you in a direction to hopefully find a resolution that is palatable to all parties.
Yep. So as I said, at that point, we thought it's the right thing to do, just replace because it was broken. Now that I see all of this, it's like we should have just left it broken and covered it broken. It just, we're trying to do something good and it escalates into something else.
Well, and a personal observation, not a board observation, you're a contractor, you're an excavation contractor. Frankly, you should, I'm sure this is the first time you've encountered, broken piping, so you should have shoulda, coulda, woulda, I mean, now,
We did have a PA1 call. Sorry.
great, fantastic. All right, so what we're going to do at this point, is we're going to not show this case as concluded. We're gonna show this case as continued.
Okay, yep, no, I understand
All
that.
right with that? Hillary, are you?
Yes, sorry. Yes, that's
All right, no
correct.
problem. All right, so with that, we will show case number MI 2022-001-749 for 222 Brown Street as continued.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming and talking to us, and we'll see you in the future, hopefully.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, you can show us off record.
Yes, Chair.
Phil, if you could remove Nick and Andrea.
Yes, Chair.
Today being May 2nd, 2024, we are hearing case number MI 2024-002-659 for 8500 Essington Avenue. John, could you state your name and spelling for the record, please?
It's John Anthony Soricillo. It is Soricillo.
And you are representing River Mechanical, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. McLaughlin, can you state your name and spelling for the record, please? You're still muted, sir.
My apologies. Terry McLaughlin, McLaughlin, with American Airlines Corporate Real Estate.
Thank you. Terry and John, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is true, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Board members. Prior to today, has any board member discussed any information in whole or in part with the appellate or anyone directly or indirectly connected with this case? Mike Bellata,
No.
Dave Hoffmeister,
No.
Brian Gilbert,
No.
Sarah Poindexter,
No.
Mike Ingram,
No.
Patrick McDonald.
No.
And let the record show that outside of staff, the chair has not had any communications. John and Anthony, I'd like to explain, my name is Walt Krasinski. I'm the chairman of the Plumbing Advisory Board. I'd like to explain how that we're going to conduct our proceeding today, being we're on a virtual platform. What we're going to do is we're going to provide you all the time necessary for you to explain why the nature of your appeal and any extenuating circumstances. After you've had time to explain to the board, one at a time, I'll call on the board members and they potentially may have some additional questions for you. Once our questioning is done, we will afford you any more time to provide last comments. When them comments and cross-examinations are completed, we will go off record. We will put you in a waiting room and we will talk about the case and deliberate and do our own internal discussions. When that has concluded, we will come back on record and we will proceed to vote on record in front of you guys. Do you have any questions of how we're going to proceed today?
No, I do not.
Okay,
No.
very good. Then with that, gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for coming to see us. We understand we have a little bit of possibly a complicated case, but we're going to do our best to see if we can't sort it out. So John or Terry, whomever would like to start, the floor is yours.
Terry, would you like to take the lead on this? Because you've been involved with this from the beginning.
I don't think he heard you, John.
Terry, would you like to start off?
I apologize. I do not have a good connection. So I did not hear anything beyond where you were stating what the procedure was going to be for the hearing.
Okay, well,
I can try to reconnect. I'm sorry.
well, we will give you, we will delay 5 minutes. If you want to disconnect and reconnect, we'll let you back in.
Okay, let me try that. Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. McLaughlin, Terry, can you hear us?
Yes, my apologize for that.
No,
I
no,
can hear
no,
you.
no, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. I would like to, Mr. McLaughlin, establish that does this case have anything to do with Terminal A reconstruction?
No, it does not.
It does not. Okay.
No.
All right. All right. Before we're getting started, Terry, John asked if you wanted to take the lead and start the explanation going.
Sure, I can just give a high level background on the premise of the project. So our intention, we relocated 3 modular trailers from our operation at Reagan National Airport down in Washington, D.C. Up to Philadelphia. They are for use for our team members that run the baggage operation for our regional carrier out of Terminal F. And the intent was to provide these for break room space as well as restroom facilities where they manage the baggage so that they don't have to come in and out of the terminal, particularly during inclement weather when the ramp is closed for thunderstorms. When we brought this forward, we were told by the city of Philadelphia that the floodplain regulations had been updated and we were going to be required to put these modular trailers onto a foundation 18 inches above floodplain elevation, which is what led to putting them onto the foundation that they are currently on. Subsequent to that, we proceeded with the standard design documents required by the DOA through the airport engineering review, got our approved permit, and then went to L&I for subsequent permits. And that was where we had River Mechanical as well as Armor Electric engaged in order to obtain those permits from City L&I.
Alrighty. John, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, when I got involved with this, there was another previous, I'm not the project manager. I'm just a master plumber. I just pull the permits. I oversee manpower. So when I was involved with this project, I was given a drawing. We submitted it. The gentleman who was handling this project retired And so it was sort of like, not dropped in my lap, but I had to take over. And, but the reality of what went on with that, was a little confused on what type of temporary trailer we were hooking up, but we were instructed what to do, and that's what I did. You know, we were under the talking to American Airlines and Armor Electric that this is a temporary trailer that they're looking to use for possibly 3 to 5 years until they have a more permanent facility figured out.
Okay, so.
Yes, from a long-term planning perspective, our ultimate plan is to look at building a more permanent facility for this work group. But it's part of the long-term master planning. But it would be for the next 3 to 5 years while we work through those processes.
Understood, understood. So, John, if that's all, the board will begin to ask questions. Do you have anything else to add before we start asking some questions?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, John, the trailer came in and was set, and there were sanitary and domestic stubs coming down through the bottom of the trailer?
There was, but some of them were so hacked up that we had to repipe everything. I was concerned about us tying into some stuff that we didn't know what was going to happen to it. The condition of some of this piping was really, really bad shape. So, you know, I just didn't know who was going to be liable for what. So we were told to go through, and wherever we had a good connection, we were repiping to that. Hence, that's where we ran new overhead sanitary and a new overhead trunk and branch water line, because it looks like everything inside this trailer was up in like little pockets and cavities, and it was a mismatch. Like it was, you know, some of it was CPVC, looks like some of it was PEX. So we had to, like, you know, cut and adapt to get it tied in.
So, John, I just want to establish for the record, clarify the record. You said overhead. I want the record, well, I'd like you to answer it. You're talking the distance between the ground level and the bottom of the trailer.
Correct.
Okay. When you said overhead, I just wanted to establish for the record that it's not actually overhead.
Yeah, it's actually underneath the trailer, but us, you know, yeah.
Got it. Thank you. And how many fixtures I don't know if you have a sense of this, or how many fixtures do we actually talk inside the trailer?
I have on this drawing here, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3. It looks like there was 3 water closets, 2 urinals, 4 labbies, and there was a hot water heater, and looks like a drinking fountain and a hand sink, or not a hand sink, I'm sorry, like a prep sink, kitchen sink, pantry sink.
No showers?
I don't see any showers on this drawing, which they submitted. This is part of
That's correct.
From Terry.
No showers.
No showers. There was traps that's for some of the floor drains, I think. There is P-traps there, floor drains in the bathroom, and then there was a backflow that has a floor drain in that one room.
So I want to mark that as fixture. So there's floor drains as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want to establish that for. All right. So underneath the trailers, you like the traps for the floor drains, the domestic water lines that you referred to previously. How are they being dealt with as far as freeze protection?
The domestic water is heat traced and insulated. There has been no designation of any type of heat trace or insulation on any of those traps to protect them from freezing. I was told there's nothing in the spec. I don't have any info on that. I mean, it's going to be something that, we'll have to talk afterwards, I guess, with me and Terry and Armor, because we're sort of like Armor sub on this, that we recommend that should be heat traced and insulated.
Okay. And when you applied for your plumbing permit to do this work, did you put on the permit that it was a temporary trailer?
Yes, I did.
Permit. Temp trailer. All right. Thank you, John. Terry, if I may ask you a few questions. So this trailer is not for the purposes of construction workers, like people working within the terminals and project management, things like that. This is for actually full-time baggage employees.
Correct.
Okay. John, were you aware of that when you applied for the permit? That what the use of this trailer is going to actually be?
No, I was not, because I was not project manager.
Okay. So Terry, and pardon me for going back and forth, but I'm just trying to get the whole picture here. So you're not obviously aware under the code what a temporary trailer describes. You wouldn't, I'm assuming that, right?
I'm sorry, I only caught the second part of your question.
So is it fair for the board to assume that you're not actually aware of the code language that describes temporary trailer?
From my standpoint, we were looking at this as a 3 to 5 year usage of the trailer. From the temporary standpoint within the usage of our team members from the airline. From the code perspective, we pass that on to our engineer. So for directly to me, no, but I had passed that on to my engineer with Urban, who did the design documents for us.
All right, so that tells the board. My question was, were you aware of what a temporary trailer is described under the code? Your answer basically is no, that it was more of you were thinking of as it of temporary internally within your own team. So I want to establish that you weren't actually aware of, you were calling it temporary on a different basis than the code states. That's just what I'm trying to establish. And I think I've established that. And wow, okay. So did you purchase this trailer, Terry? Did your American Airlines purchase this trailer, or is it leased?
This is a purchased trailer. It was in use at our facility in Washington, D.C. And we had to remove that due to airport expansion there. So the business decision was to relocate it to Philadelphia.
Okay.
As opposed to getting rid of it.
All right. I think that's all the questions that I'm going to have for now. The only observation that possibly, not knowing what the conclusion of this hearing is going to be, John, the only thing that I would say is at some point you'd have to address the potential of the traps freezing on the underneath the trailer.
Yeah, I'll talk to Armor
With
about that.
that, gentlemen, what we're going to do is we're going to see if the board has any additional questions for you. Mike Bellata,
No questions.
Patrick McDonald,
No, sir, no questions.
Michelle Brisbane,
No questions.
Bill Dobbins,
No.
thank you. Mike Ingram,
No questions.
okay. Sarah Poindexter,
No questions.
Brian Gilbert,
I have questions. First, John.
Yes.
You say you are working under contract as a sub from Armor Electric, correct?
That's the way that I was told that this job is going, yes.
Okay, so, I mean, for those of you that have never worked at the airport, Armor Electric has a large presence at the airport. So this is, Armor Electric is doing this project for whatever reason for American Airlines, but it has nothing to do with Armor Electric's presence at the airport, because they are constantly doing jobs there. They have a yard almost. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes.
Okay. Terry, this is for your baggage handlers, am I correct?
Correct. It's for our baggage handlers that support the regional operation out of Terminal F.
Okay, and it is your intention to build a permanent facility at one point
Yes.
for them?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure that you can't answer this, but I'm gonna ask Shane or someone at the department. Are the amount of fixtures in this trailer, are they to bring into compliance for required fixtures on table 4 or 3.5, or is it in addition? Can anyone answer that? Has that been looked at?
That is not a item in front of the board right now.
Okay. The reason I ask is because if it is to bring them into compliance, it is definitely not going to be a temporary.
This is a, from L&I's standpoint, they're kind of looking at this as a oddity is probably not a great word, as a rarity. It's a hybrid from what would be a modular building and temporary construction. So, fixture counts, don't necessarily apply.
Okay. Now, Terry, you say 3 to 5 years. Is this trailer, is there any possibility of this trailer being used as, say, job site bathroom for other projects after you guys have completed your permanent facility and have moved on? Or are you planning on scrapping this trailer, taking it to another, leaving it up as maybe a job site bathroom for other construction projects? What I'm getting at is, I know if you work in a larger area like the airport, use a Merc.
No, our intent would be to remove it entirely.
Remove it entirely. Okay, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Dave Hoffmeister?
No questions.
Hey, can I, Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question, if I would.
Sure, Patrick.
Terry, where is the sanitary terminating? Is it going into a sewer system or into a tank holding?
It's into the sewer system on airport property.
Thank you.
All right, any other board members, any other additional questions? Hearing none, seeing none. John and Terry, what we're going to do at this point, as I explained in the beginning, we're going to put you into a waiting room and we're going to go into deliberations at this point. We ask for your patience, kind of a little bit of a complicated issue. So, we ask for your patience while we're in deliberations.
Sounds good.
Mr. Kelly, could you show us off record, please?
Yes, sure.
John and Terry, we do have a couple questions. We're kind of close to completing our deliberation, but we do have a couple questions. The manhole that you tied into, what is connecting that manhole to the infrastructures? What is the material on the outlet side of that manhole? John, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, on that drawing, it was 8-inch PVC.
It was PVC from the manhole to the trailer, right?
Correct.
Now, what about from the manhole to the infrastructure, to the on-site sewer?
I don't know about that because I was not involved. That was Haynes and Kibblehouse.
I believe it's a doghouse manhole over the existing sanitary pipe. I'm going back to my drawings now.
And do you know what that sanitary pipe was? It was a doghouse manhole. I gotta assume it was concrete.
The manhole, or where they connected?
The piping they
I
connected.
believe it was a clay pipe encased in concrete.
Okay, that's good. And my last question is, why did you run 8-inch for the trailer that was only 4-inch? Any particular reason?
That was the engineer of record, so Urban Engineers that provided the design documents. That was the recommendation, and the signed and sealed drawings that they provided to us were for an 8-inch line.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And is that backfilled now?
Yes,
It has been backfilled.
yes.
And
It's been backfilled, blacktop, concrete, or whatever was going on top.
Has it been patched too? As Mr. Bellata said, it was backfilled, but was it asphalted too? Terry?
I believe so, yes. We had
Okay.
gotten an approval in January, so that the hole was closed up.
You did not, see, that's the nature of why you're here. You did not get an approval for inspection yet. That's one of the reasons why you're here. Calls the question, if you knew there was a problem when the inspector came out and he questioned the material, did you backfill it just for safety reasons?
So we did get an approval in late December that said final plumbing inspection approved, which is why we directed the contractors to close up the hole. And then in January, we were told, no, it is no longer approved.
Interesting. Okay. All right, board members, anybody else have a question before we go back into deliberation?
No,
We wanted to talk about, we wanted to assure that there was that the 90s and the proper heat protection. I don't know if
We'll
you
get,
wanted
yeah,
to.
we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll be it. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We're gonna go back into deliberation. Mr. Kelly, please show us off record.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Thank you for your patience. As I stated previously, we're trying to weigh all angles, so we make sure that, we're doing the right thing for all parties involved. And I think we have it figured out. Board, what say you?
I motion that we approve a variance with provisions to be stated.
I second that motion.
All right, there's a motion on the floor and seconded to approve the variance with the following conditions. The existing non-metallic piping can remain for a duration of 3 years that would have to be removed by May 2nd, 2027. Number 2, after May 2nd, 2027, all existing non-metallic piping must be removed to and including the underground sanitary to the manhole. Number 3, if the trailer remains past May 2nd, 2027, all piping, sanitary and domestic, interior, exterior, and underground, must be replaced with code compliant metallic piping. Next, no additional connections can be made to the existing PVC piping. Next, if the use of the trailer or occupancy of the trailer changes before May 2nd, 2027, code compliant material must be installed. Final provision, all sanitary and domestic piping must be properly protected from freezing. John and Terry, do you understand the provisions that were described, and do you agree to them?
Yes.
Yes.
Let the record show that the appellates agreed to the conditions set forth for approval. Motion on the floor and seconded. We'll proceed to a vote. The vote will be to concur with the motion to approve with the conditions stated. Mike Bellotta,
Approve.
Mike Ingram,
Approve.
Patrick McDonald,
Approved.
David Hoffmeister,
Approved.
Brian Gilbert,
Approve.
Sarah Poindexter,
Approve.
and the chair votes in the affirmative. By unanimous vote of the board, your appeal has been approved with the conditions stated. What will happen now is, our recommendation goes for final approval to the License and Inspection Commissioner. He'll presumably sign off on it, and you should hear something back from LNI staff within a week to 10 days. Do you have any, questions for the board?
No,
No, I do not.
thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to see us. With that, case number MI 2024-002659 for 8500 Essington Avenue is concluded. Thank you, gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, can you show us off record, please?
Yes, Chair.